Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. Reality, spirituality. It's a new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we get real. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real. Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. Reality, spirituality. It's a new experience. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one now. Reality, spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality, spirituality. Oh, now we get real. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get down. Reality, spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get real.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Reality Spirituality on Labor Day weekend. Yes, there is a show today. Woo-wee. I'm your host, Rebecca Lynn Norrington, and I just want to say that this show is going to, it's something that keeps coming up, and if you've heard it before, or you were thinking about it before, or you've actually experienced it, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and that is having preferences. What is this show for my new listeners? This is Reality Spirituality is a show about everyday life. Everyday life and the what we all experience, regardless of where we are on our spiritual evolution or on our growth chart or wherever you are, having preferences, meaning preferring something over something else, always subtracts from your happiness. Let me explain. And the reason why I came up with this preferences thing, well, let me just back up for my new listeners. I'm a self-proclaimed happiness specialist, and what that means is that in every moment of my day, every moment in my life, I have dedicated to being I have dedicated it to finding peace and finding happiness in every moment. Now, all moments don't feel very peaceful. Can I get an amen, my audience? All moments don't feel peaceful, but is there a way to be at peace and to give out that energy of peace and contentment and or happiness, whatever you want to call it? Is it possible when you're faced with life's biggest challenges to still remain peaceful? And so what this show teaches is, yes, you can, and how to remain peaceful. One of the major components to subtracting from happiness is having preferences. Now, whether you believe me or you don't believe me, trust me. And let me give you a perfect example. And I said, trust me, and I'm like, if you're new, who the hell is she? Why would I trust her? I prefer cool weather. I'm sorry, but I'm a cool weather kind of gal. I'm not into the summer. I'm not into summer weather. I like winter and fall. That's just me. And so over the years, I've always had, that's what I prefer. But come to find out, when there's a really, really hot day and I need to put on air conditioner in the car and in the house, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh, God, when is winter here? Just that mentality of having a preference of weather. And then it spills out into every aspect of life. Having a preference, let's say this, for all of my people out there that have causes, meaning either the suicide watch cause or the Greenpeace cause or the PETA cause or the global warming cause or the get out the vote cause or you name it, feed the fish, whatever cause you have or you're backing or you prefer to have happen, that preference is what's subtracting. There comes a time, there came a time that I realized that all preferences, I don't care what they are, as benign as possible, preferring anything other than what is happening in this moment, wanting something different than whatever this moment is showing you, wanting something different to happen, to experience, other than what is going on, is resistance to the moment, and also saying that you prefer something else. When you prefer, you're making a conscious choice. Let's see, hold on a second, because I'm trying to, I actually have too many thoughts in my head, and now I got to a place where I'm thought overload and I'm stuck. Okay, so let's see, 2 thoughts in head. No, that's what I'm going to say. So let's see, back up. This week, I've heard maybe 5 times throughout the week, I'm having a bad day. Or I remember asking a student a couple of days ago, and I asked her, I said, so how are you doing? Are you practicing? Because she has a lot of road rage. People cut you off and people talking on their cell phones. Everybody, she was very into other people on the road. And I was asking her about practicing not, number one, whatever's happening, if somebody's cutting you off on the road, no, audience, know this, it's not personal. It's never personal. And so what she said to me, she says, Rebecca, when people cut me off, what I do now is to say to myself, they're having a bad day. Now, I'll get back to the preferences in a moment, but I want to just veer to this bad day, good day thing. All labels subtract from your happiness. So when you label a day a good day, you label a day a bad day, what you're really doing is putting a judgment on the day, putting your judgment on the day. And in reality, it's just a day without judgment. You're having moments without a judgment of whether this is good or whether this is bad, whether this is acceptable or whether it's not, whether I prefer this or whether I don't. Labeling anything good day, bad day, and this, I'm having a good day, I'm having a bad day, because if you have a good day, that means you can also have a bad day. And what I'm trying to say is get rid of or switch your thinking to I'm having a day without any judgment. Because quite frankly, everybody would prefer to have a good day, right? But do we have good days for the rest of our lives? No. We have different types of days, different types of activities, and sometimes, I know some people don't like to use the word challenge, but I like the word challenge. I think it's a good word. I think it means that when there's something in that is happening in my moment, and let's say, for instance, a couple weeks ago, my car window on the driver's side didn't roll down. And, of course, if I want the driver's side car window to roll down. I have to take it into to get it fixed. We all have car stories, car repair stories, right? And taking it to get whatever is going on with the car, a new motor, new window motor. Come to find out, we're always going to have a price on it. It's going to be close to $500. Okay, that's $500 I, quote, wasn't planning on spending, but whatever. Come to find out, there's other things. And we notice that it's not starting as fast as it, quote, should start. This part is unique. You're going to need this part. You're going to need this part. Well, $1,800 later. That's what I'm talking about, audience. Having preference. Would I prefer that the cost of my repairs be lower? No. That's the key. That's what I'm saying. No. I don't prefer a lower amount, as crazy as it sounds. Whatever is going on, accept. Whatever is going on, flow, accept, go with it, relax with it, ride it out, be okay, be at peace. Now, that's not easy to do, and that's why I say that this life is about what is the purpose of this? What is the purpose of your life? Well, it's to grow, and it's to learn, and it's to expand as a person. You plant a tree, you plant a peach tree. You have the seed, and then it grows, and it keeps growing, and it keeps growing, and it keeps growing year after year after year after year until it's done. Trees grow forever, even though you don't see them growing. I guess trees grow forever. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. And so that's the same as us. As soon as we come out, we're growing, we're learning, we're growing, we're learning. It doesn't stop when you get to a certain age. Well, sometimes it stops, but it's not supposed to stop. In other words, when you're faced with the challenge, the life challenge of having a $2,000 car repair bill, just unexpected, when you're in that challenge, it's okay. It's giving life the okay. Okay, $2,000 car repairs. Okay, pain in the foot for almost a year. Okay, somebody cutting you off. Okay. See, it's really about a mindset that you are going to be okay, and you are going to allow everything to just pass through your path, on your path, and you're just keeping it moving. There's water parks, and usually all the water parks have this one ride. It's called the Lazy River. I don't know if you've ever been to a water park, but this used to be one of my favorite rides when my son was little. The Lazy River is a man-made river that goes all around the park, and there's a very slow current that pushes the water forward, but it's really slow, and it's really easy. It's really gentle. You can actually get off your raft or your inner tube at any time, and you can touch the ground. It's called the Lazy River. And that mentality is exactly the mentality I'm talking about. Having that you're moving, the analogy is that lazy river is really life. And you're just going through life, chill, experiencing it all, experiencing things that, no, if it was my choice, I wouldn't really want to experience this, but I know it's not my choice. I know it's nothing I have control over. I know that whatever the universe puts in front of me, whatever the universe says, or not says, but whatever the universe brings to me is here to add to my growth, add to my betterment. I know that. So whatever that is, you're able to flow through it. And that is the mindset, the journey, this life on that lazy river. Now, the question about being in a good mood or having a good day versus having a bad day, is there any such thing as a good day and a bad day? I remember thinking when I was younger, yeah, there is. And, of course, we're all programmed, remember that word, programmed to believe that there is a good day and there is a bad day. There is a such thing as a good day and a bad day. But in reality, my dear audience, there's no such thing. Labels, judgments always subtract from happiness, always. So it's just a day. You're just having a day. I get these emails, and I usually don't subscribe to spiritual, but Abraham, I love Abraham Hicks Publications, and on this day, it's talking about Abraham's talking about your experience, and this is really, really important. Remember, one of the big things I talk about is staying out of everybody else's business, not noticing what anybody else is doing. It's you and the mirror. This life is about you and the mirror, looking in the mirror. That's it. So let me read this. It's just really short, but it's very powerful. Because others cannot vibrate in your experience, they cannot affect the outcome of your experience. Okay, let me read that again because it's really good. Here we go. Because others cannot vibrate in your experience, they cannot vibrate in your experience, they cannot affect the outcome of your experience. They can hold their opinions, but unless their opinion affects your opinion, their opinion doesn't matter at all. Now, question, does their opinion affect your opinion? Do you care about what other people think? That's a real question. And it's either a yes or a no. You know me, I like to be very, very clear. It's either a yes or no. Do you care? And it's from strangers onto your significant other. Strangers up to your significant other, up to your mother, your parents, your siblings, your best friend, your partner, your wife, your husband, doesn't matter. This goes across the board. When you care and when you behave and when you make decisions and when you act with anybody else in mind, with anybody else's influence, basically you're not being yourself. I don't know why I said basically. You're not being yourself. When you care about what other people think, it's impossible to be yourself all the time. True to yourself, because you're going to make adjustments based on what other people think or other people feel or your loved ones or whatever. And so it's getting to a point where you can really be yourself, all of it, without caring about what anybody else thinks about you, about your choices, about your behavior, about what you do. It's very freeing, audience. It's very freeing. And then I get the questions of, well, you at least have to consider your partner. Don't you have to consider your boyfriend or your husband or your wife or your parents? Don't you have to consider their feelings? No. Please don't. No, please don't. And this is why. When you are yourself, being yourself, in the core, you're just expressing yourself, you're being yourself in the truest sense, in the most, and I really don't like this word, but I can't think of another word, authentic. I just don't like that word. I don't know why, but I just don't like it. Anyway, it doesn't flow with me. What can I say? It just doesn't flow. Being true to yourself, or being you, there's no room for anyone else. And when you are influenced by anyone else, then it's going to influence and change what you do, or what you're thinking, or how you're behaving. Blah, 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 blah. 1 million people can be pushing against you. 1 million people can be pushing against you, and it would not negatively affect you unless, and here we go, unless you push back. The 1 million people that are pushing against you are affecting their vibrations, but they only affect what happens in your experience when you notice, when you focus on them, and when you push back. So, pushing back, meaning you respond, or your energy responds, or your energy changes, or your energy shifts. And the perfect example is when I call, listen, hi, Mom, when I call my mother and she might say something that is just that's very, to me, now anybody else is fine, but to me it sounds, oh, gosh, how outrageous, Mother. How could you even say that? I'm trying to think of a perfect example. Anyway, yeah, and I'm thinking that it doesn't even make sense, or it's outrageous. Even if I'm thinking that, it's a form of pushing back. It's a form of resistance. It's a form of not accepting. Let me just switch to this really fast. One of my students talking about her daughters, and the relationship between her daughters is not good. Their relationship between each other is not good. The relationship between the mother and the daughters is not good. When I say not good, it's not peaceful. Okay, scratch that not good, because that's just taking away everything I said earlier. It's just not peaceful. There's always conflict, some kind of conflict, some kind of resistance. And she told me a story that the grandson was in a hospital, car accident. Now the grandmother, which is my student, and the daughters rushed to the hospital. And now the daughter, this is her son, and she's frantic. And she's screaming, and she's in the hospital, and she's screaming, and she's out of control, and she's traumatized. You have a child that's had an accident off of a motorcycle, and they're in really critical shape, injuries, broken bones. Listen, if somebody's screaming and yelling, isn't that? I mean, I would understand it. I don't know how I would act. Who knows? But it's definitely understandable and acceptable. Well, for whatever reason, this mother, the mother of the daughter that's acting out. Remember, the daughter has a son in the hospital. They just found out he's been in a motorcycle accident. And the grandmother, or the mother of the daughter, who the daughter is the mother of the son. So we have 3 generations here. The eldest is embarrassed and upset that the daughter is acting out and yelling and screaming and out of control in the hospital, because she's just frantic. She doesn't know whether her son is okay, whether he's going to live, whether he's not going to live. It's unnerving, and it's especially, my dear audience, it's especially unnerving to people that are not connected, to this energy source that I call the universe. It's a real challenge for people that don't have the connection and are basically just out there by themselves. They're not by themselves, but in their heads, They don't know their connection yet. They don't know the power, the energy that is there to assist them throughout life. They don't know about it yet. So with all that said, the grandmother said to me that she could not accept her daughter screaming and yelling and basically just acting out. She called it a flare-up, okay? She usually had the word a flare-up. And the grandmother said she's had 4 flare-ups. She even counted the flare-ups from her daughter. Paying attention, noticing, counting flare-ups, paying attention to what anybody else is doing will subtract from your peace, subtract from your happiness. Now, let me say, the grandmother then proceeded, and this is really seatbelts, this is really, really something, proceeded to tell me, but I love my daughter, my daughters, and I love this daughter, the daughter with the flare-ups. And I asked her a simple question. Were you embarrassed? Did you feel embarrassed when she's, in a public place having flare-ups and getting upset and temper tantrums and temper tantrums, but just all this emotion pouring out because she's traumatized because of her son in a car accident? Are you embarrassed by this? Excuse me, audience. And by the way, preferences, I don't know if you've noticed or even can tell, my voice is a little off today because I'm dealing with, hold on, let me get some water. Life, reality, spirituality, I love it. Stay with me while I gulp some more water down. Hold on, audience. Okay, back to the story. So I asked her, she says, but I love my daughter. I said, so you were embarrassed by her? And she says, yes. Embarrassed by someone else's behavior. Is that even possible? That's a question. Can you be embarrassed by someone else's behavior? If so, number one, you care what other people think. And number two, this embarrassment gene, this embarrassment is another thing that you learned. Being embarrassed is a learned behavior, is learned thoughts. And so when she said that she loved her daughter, and she said that she, even though she was counting her flare-ups, and I'm struggling with just getting this out, but I'm going to do it anyway because you know me, audience. I told her, no, you don't love your daughter. When you look at anyone and you want them to be different than who they are, just like years ago when I wanted my mother to be different, when I wanted my father to be different, when I wanted my brother to be different, I wanted them to be different. I wanted them to be improved people because they were so flawed the way they were, right? They were so flawed. And this is the same way she's looking at her daughter, as there's room for improvement. Something needs to improve. And I told her, no, unless you accept someone with all, and I mean accept all of them, not just a little part of them that you like and you get along with. No, the part of them that you don't particularly like and probably would like to be different. I mean, if I could sit up and list all the things, list all the things I would like to see my mother change or like to see her change, well, the nerve of me wanting someone else to change. No, it's I have to do the changing. See, I have to do the accepting. I have to be the one that changes. Not these people. There's nothing wrong with a daughter screaming in the hospital like she's, lost her mind. There's nothing wrong with my mother talking about things that are crazy things and, quote, unquote, not making a lot of sense sometimes. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm the one, if I'm not having peace, if they're pushing my buttons, I'm the one that needs to look at my buttons. I'm the one that needs to shift and make the change. It's not them, audience. It's us. It's that person in the mirror. And when I told my student that, she says, I love my daughter. It was said just like a robotic statement. I love my daughter. I love my son. I love my partner. I love my mother. I love my sister. I love my brother. I don't have a sister. No. You cannot love without acceptance, total acceptance. If you don't accept a person, and I'm talking about universal love, I'm not talking about this man-made love, because quite frankly, man-made love, I love them when they're like this, or I love them when they behave like this. But when they disappoint me, or when they do something that I disapprove of, or I'm embarrassed by, well, you know what, I'm going to take my love and I'm going to go home. You either love and accept all others, or you don't. And not only do you love and accept, and you don't need them or want them to be any different. You actually find value in all their crazy, stupid behavior, in all of their wonderful behavior. You find value, you find it interesting, you find it you accept them. You accept them for where they are. And when I give that energy of acceptance to my own mother, as opposed to what I used to do, sit there on the phone just clenching my teeth together, rolling my eyes, a lot of Jesus, a lot of putting the phone away from my ear, a lot of turning the volume down, a lot of please, and a lot of coming back with a comment or a disagreement, or all of that for years, audience, for decades, because I just wanted my mother to be different, just different than what she was. Different than who she was, than how she was acting. I wanted her to be no. And when I want somebody else to be different, wow, the nerve of me wanting somebody else to change when I can't make the changes, or when I'm not making my changes. Yeah, this growing thing is I was going to say, it's sometimes it's not comfortable. Actually, the discomfort, I'm beginning to be comfortable with the discomfort of growing. Yes, I'm beginning to feel comfortable because it is uncomfortable. But what has happened is, over a period of time, when you start doing the work on yourself, when you start really recognizing that it's not them, it's really you. When you start recognizing that, and you start changing, and you start noticing what subtracts from your happiness, and you start adding, in other words, you're doing the behaviors, less and less behaviors that subtract from your happiness, and you're doing more of the behaviors that add to your happiness, and that is the state. That is the state where you want to live. That is the state where you're going to find all of the peace that you've been looking for. Because what else do you want in this life other than, I'm talking about number one, internal peace. What is more important than internal peace? I dare you. I double dare you to find something more important. Health, job, money, relationships. Really? You're healthy? You don't have internal peace? You have a relationship. Listen, and you can't have a peaceful relationship if you don't have your internal peace either. See, your relationship is an indication, all of your relationships are indications of your internal peace. Every single one. Let me give you a challenge that I was faced with just a couple of days from my number one person in my life, my only begotten son. What does begotten mean? I don't know. My only son. And we were on the phone. He wanted to chat. We actually do reality spirituality shows, but I keep it private. But anyway, so we're doing a private reality spirituality show, and we're on the phone talking. Okay, let me start from the beginning. One of the things that I don't do anymore is plan my day. I don't do any planning because for me, planning, what if I don't feel? In other words, if I plan to go out to dinner with some people, if somebody says, Rebecca, do you want to have dinner on Friday? Today is Sunday. Do you want to have dinner on Friday? I'm going to say I'm not going to plan it because I don't know how I'm going to feel that Friday. I just don't know. And a lot of times I used to. Okay, I made an appointment. I made an obligation. I have an obligation to go out to dinner. I said I was going to go, and now I have to go, even though I don't feel like going. So I don't do that. I don't make any plans. On the day, if I feel like or if I'm inspired to get out and do something social, I will. If not, but I don't make any future plans. I'm talking about my social plans specifically. So before we even did the show, my son and he was trying to come up with a day to do the show. So this was, Mom, let's do a reality spirituality show on Wednesday. Okay. Wednesday went by. He didn't text me. He didn't call me. He didn't say what time because I always set it for late in the evening, so I have the whole day. I schedule it for late in the evening, and he didn't call me, nothing. Finally, he texts me later that evening and said, Mom, got really busy. How about tomorrow doing the show? No, okay. Listen, people, you think I'm going to have any kind of attachments and expectations to a future moment, especially when it comes to my boy that is just so wishy-washy, and sometimes he says he wants to and sometimes he doesn't, and that's just who he is. And I just flow with it, and go with it. Whether he, listen, I could care less if we do a show on a certain day. I'm not going to be attached to doing a show, anything. Hell no. So finally, the next day, same thing the next day. Went through the whole day. Just let me know. Give me a heads up in advance. Give me a half-hour notice. I can schedule a show. Well, the next day, my son was another no-show. Get it? No-show? A no-show to the no-show. Same thing later on in the evening, because this is the thing. And I'm not going to even try to pretend I know what he was doing, but he knew that he said he wanted to do a show, and he knew he didn't contact me, and the next day did the same thing. But I'm not, as the kids say, tripping off of that. The next morning, which was, what is today, Friday? It was Friday. So we finally did our show. So he calls me, and he says, Mom, let's do a show today. I have the day off. I have more free time. I said, okay. And it just happened that I scheduled, in other words, there's a schedule in for a private show. And all I have to do is just change the time. I go in and schedule and change the time. So I noticed I was 15 out of a half hour, because you can schedule shows every half hour. So you schedule either the top of the hour or you schedule it the half hour. So I was maybe 15 minutes to the top of the hour. And I said, oh, I'll schedule it for 15 minutes. You ready? Well, unbeknownst to me, because my son did not tell me, but I could feel it, he didn't want to do a show in the next 15 minutes. He really wanted more lead time. And I'm telling you all this because he told me this later. Because prior to having the show and chatting, and what we were going to talk about was just life issues and what's going on in your life and what are you challenged by today. That's what we talk about. We don't have the regular mother and son conversation about the world. We just have conversations about our growth. That's it. Oh, I grew yesterday. I grew a week ago. I'm growing now. I'm doing this. I'm challenging myself in this, and that's all we talk about. So anyway, back to the story. So he didn't want it, but he didn't say anything to me. He just stuffed it. So in 15 minutes, when the show went live, my son comes on the air, and we're just talking about his latest. And one of his things is he lives in New York, and he lives on the first floor, and the door rings, and it's a security building, so the door rings. You have to buzz people in. You have to buzz them in. You buzz them in. In New York, you always have to buzz people in. And so he's on the first floor, and he says it's so annoying that when people buzz, and they always usually buzz him because he's the closest one to the door. So he gets a lot of buzzes throughout the day, and it really annoys him. And he's talked about that. And so I said, well, what can you do to keep peace? He said, well, I don't have to answer the doorbell all the time. But then I think, is it for me? And yes. And then it's just an energy shift. It's really, because the doorbell is going to keep ringing. It's just your energy shifts. So my son was talking about that, but I noticed that his energy was different. Like, he didn't want to be on the show. Or didn't want to have this conversation. His energy just shifted, and he was just. You can tell when somebody doesn't want to be in the same room with you, or doesn't want to be at dinner with you, or doesn't want to talk to you, or doesn't want to have a. You can feel the difference, right? It's usually called the cold shoulder type. But it's a little of less. It was a less degree than that, but I could feel it. So we get through the whole show. We talk about our things, and then after the show was over, I called him and I said, Nathan, did you want to do that show? And that's when it finally came out that he did want to do the show, but then I hit him with, let's do it I could do it in 15 minutes. And instead of him saying, no, I don't want to do it in 15 minutes, I'd rather do it in a half hour or 40 minutes or even an hour. I don't feel like doing it in 15 minutes. Remember, audience, always be honest with yourself. You don't necessarily have to be honest with others, but always be honest with yourself. And so he says, no, I didn't want to do the show that quickly. Threw me off. And with that slight throwing off, with that slight shift, the whole mood and the whole energy and the whole dynamic shifted. And I couldn't bring him back. Why? Because I don't have power to shift anybody's energy or anybody's. I really don't have that power unless the other person is open and receptive to shifting. If they're not open and receptive to making a change or making a shift, I don't care. I can bump my head up against the wall. I can tell 100 jokes, 1,000,000 jokes. I could be funny as you know what. But if they're not into it, that's why I'm saying you don't have the influences that you think over other people. Now, what you do have influence, you definitely have influence with your energy. And I definitely, okay, let me just say this. What does the humpback man want more than anything else in the world? The man with the hump on his back, what does he want more than anything else in the world? Well, he wants you to have the hump too. He doesn't want to get rid of his hump. He wants you to feel just like he does. And so for the next 30, 40 minutes, my dear son had this energy of really not interested in anything I had to say. Yeah, I could feel it. But am I going to be affected by somebody that's not interested in anything I have to say? Am I going to let that influence me? No. Am I going to let them have power over my vibration, over my energy, over where I'm vibrating? No. I'm not. Is it possible that there are times when somebody's vibrating or has an energy that's a lower energy, or that's maybe an anxious energy or a sad energy or annoyed energy, whatever you want to call it, vibration? Can that affect me? Only if I allow it. You see how everything comes back to you? Do you see how powerful you are? When you are at peace in the middle of storm, in the middle of Hurricane Hermine. What an interesting name, Hermine. That was one of my aunts, and she's died probably about 10 years ago now. And now she's back as a tornado. But when you are able to be at peace in the middle of the storm, in the middle of tornado Hermine, you have changed. You are changing, have changed. You changed the world. Anytime you remain in that energy, in that vibration of peace, you bring the world to that vibration. You are that vibration. You are adding that vibration to the world. Your vibration of peace affects the world. When you're angry, you're bringing that vibration of anger to the world. That's why it's so important to remain, to practice the behaviors that keep you in that state. Because that state is going to be stronger and stronger, and your roots are going to go deeper and deeper and deeper. And just think of yourself as a tree, and deeper and deeper. And the deeper your roots are, and your roots are in, and your roots take form, your roots are in trust, surrendering, flowing, non-resisting, accepting, allowing, and ultimately surrendering to everyday moments, all of the moments during all of the time. Every moment, regardless of what you prefer, regardless of what you would rather. This prefer and this I rather, eliminate those, my dear audience. Eliminate that thought. Eliminate that mindset. Eliminate your preferences. Accept all of it. Now, I was going to say, I'm trying to give another example, and I can't think of one that's going to be really solid. But preferring a warm day as opposed to a rainy day, or just accepting I'm having when you are at peace with whatever day, whatever kind of moment. Oh, excuse me, audience. Oh, my goodness. Excuse me. When you are at peace with in any moment, in all your moments, and you just start practicing flowing, trusting, allowing, surrendering, flowing, trusting, allowing, surrendering. In fact, that's a good mantra. Accepting it all. That's when you know, and you practice it in every moment, especially the ones that you may not necessarily would have chosen to experience. that's when you practice the hardest. That's when you practice with all of your intensity and all of your fervor, all of it. Practice. On Friday, I noticed I had a sore throat. Yesterday was full-on sore throat. Today, it's just minimal. Would I rather not have a cold and a sore throat, runny nose, and congestion? And would I rather not be, quote, unquote, sick? No. I'm okay with having a cold. I'm okay with all of it. Would I rather? No. Because guess what? Being sick and still being happy and still having peace is the ultimate. Is the ultimate. Having a bill for over $2,000 for car repairs and still being happy and still being peaceful is the ultimate. And I'm not talking about it. You people are the only ones that know about my car repair. You're the only ones that know. Why am I sharing news like that with anyone? Why? Why would I share that? For what? Sympathy? What or conversation? Why am I sharing that? So really being mindful of what you share and why you share it is another clue and another practice. What you'll find is you'll start talking a lot less. You'll listen a lot more, and you'll speak a lot less, unless you have a radio show, unless you teach classes. But other than that, in real life, you're not going to get too many words out of me. Hey, is this my friend from? Is this Robert Sharp? If this is Robert, welcome to Reality Spirituality. You're listening. Thank you so much for listening, Robert. And if it's not, I believe I remember the area code. And if it's not, well, whoever's on hold, I actually have a couple people on hold, and nobody wants to say hello. That's okay. But the show is going to be, Jesus, I spoke for almost an hour? Yikes, I sure am a yakety-yacker. Anyway, Reality Spirituality, and thank you so much for listening. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 7 a.m. Uh-oh. Yeah. Is this you, right, dear Robert?
Good morning. Well, you know what? I have to say that sometimes preferences are okay. Like
I knew you would have to say that.
Like I would prefer to listen to you than do anything else on a Sunday morning.
Uh-oh. No, don't make me cry happy tears this morning. Oh, no. Okay, my dear audience. So Robert Sharp is another Blog Talk Radio host, and I don't even remember how either I was on your show, you've been on my show, but I just love you so much in connecting and listening, and thank you, Robert. What's going on? So are you really serious about preferences sometimes, or was that just tongue-in-cheek?
It was mostly tongue-in-cheek. No, but I your point is very well taken. That once you start to prefer something other than what is, it does detract from happiness. So, but I just had to say, I mean, truly, I do, prefer listening to you than, doing many things on Sunday morning. But that's well.
There are always exceptions to the rules. There's always exception. And any time, listen, this is my ego talking. Thank you, Robert. And, of course, I understand why you would prefer listening to me. Of course.
well, listen, you have a great day.
You too, Robert. Thank you. And kiss that wonderful person for me. Well, I'm trying to remember the name. I'm trying to remember his name.
Roy.
Roy. That's right, Roy. I was Roy and Roger. Kiss Roy for me. Thank you, Robert, for listening as usual. Love you. Okay, audience, what a great surprise. Gosh, I love that man. All right, so listen. Reality Spirituality is heard every Sunday at 7 a.m. And if you like the show, and I know you did, I'm just assuming. Bah. Or if you didn't, go to Reality Spirituality on Facebook and like the Facebook page. You can follow me on Twitter at RL Norrington. And my website is RebeccaNorrington.com. That's RebeccaNorrington.com. What else? Email me at info@RebeccaNorrington.com. Also, my first book, Reality Spirituality, The Truth About Happiness, is on Amazon. You can go and order that. And my second book, Programmed for Unhappiness, I'm writing it, but I'm in the middle of writing it, and I haven't been inspired to write in maybe about 3 weeks or so. So it'll be out sooner than later. Who knows when it's going to be out? Only the universe knows. But I want you to remember that you are a physical extension of the universe. You're always changing. You're always growing. Be patient and be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. You cannot have a happy ending with an unhappy journey. It is about the journey. Thank you for listening. We'll talk again next week on Reality Spirituality. Thank you all. Love you. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, it's time to get real. Oh, yeah. It's the new experience. Reality Spirituality. Yeah, keep your ears open for this one, man. Reality Spirituality. You got a question for RLN? Reality Spirituality. Yeah, it's time to get some answers, baby. Reality Spirituality. Oh, now we getting real. Getting real. Spirituality. Yeah, time to get down. Reality. Spirituality. Yeah, you gonna feel good now. Real good. Now, that's what I'm talking about. Time to get